All right, we are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We'll let some people give it a moment. Oh, let me pull my iPad from over there. Let me make sure my StreamYard is working fine on this monitor. We'll let that. All right, guys, we are back with our next rolling segment. And it is time to go into a bit of a deep dive, as well as go over our 5 keys to success for this upcoming Sunday night football game against these Atlanta Falcons. Man, woo-wee. That's okay. There we go. So yeah, so that's basically on the agenda today. So as we get people coming in, as we get settled in, as my puppy tries to jump up into the frame, let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on the Purple and Gold Bars channel. I am your host, Supreme Overlord, aka Mr. AI Man 3000, Mr. Purple and Gold Bars, Mr. The man that bleeds royal purple and gold. Your host with the most. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I appreciate it. And we are back with another one. So let's get to it, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys as I roll into this year and get set up with a new style, a new format, and get everything up to snuff. So let's get to a bit of a deep dive. I will have a bit of actually. I want to make a bit of a confession. I only have four out of the 5 keys to victory that I was trying to work on before we started. But the timer ran out. It was 4:15, and it's time to get on the live. So hopefully, that 5th key to success will come to me as we progress through the breakdown. Okay, guys. So let's talk about these Atlanta Falcons. Let's deep dive a little bit here and let's see if we can identify some areas in which our Minnesota Vikings can take advantage of or might even be should be concerned of or aware of, right? So let's start with the offense. I went ahead and watched all the highlights first from the Falcons game, and then I went to my streaming service, which allows me to watch the games, the full broadcast down to condensed version. So I watched. There's two different there's 4 different condensed versions, right? There's highlights, and then there's like the 20-minute version, 40 minutes. So I took the 40-minute version. So it kind of I wanted to get a good sense of what was going pre-snap because it's a little bit of a longer or it gives you a better feel of what actually happened because yeah, that one I didn't that's right, Lefty. We're going to be going live as often as we can for this season, talking that talk, as Mr. Mike says. But yeah, so I just watched some of that, and I wanted to start off with the offense for these Atlanta Falcons. Now, their offense definitely had its moments, and there were a lot of great passing plays. There were a lot of highlights and a lot of sparks or kind of flashes, right? But when you start peeling all that back and you start looking to see um, we can it's really easy to point at the first flaw that they're struggling with at the beginning of this year. And that's the fact that their running game hasn't started off strong. Bijan definitely put in his work and put up 100 yards receiving and a touchdown, but when it came to the ground, he had a measly 2 yards per carry. Uh, Algier, but the thing is their running back room is very explosive, dynamic, and a lot of us, including myself, were kind of okay with the notion that they've arrived and they're going to be consistent, they're going to be good and dangerous and all that fun stuff, but they kind of fell short of those expectations. So that is definitely the easy pickings when it comes to analyzing this Falcons offense. Thing that started to know the first thing that I started to notice, or the thing that first grabbed my attention when I started watching uh outside of highlights, was I started getting bored. And maybe it's a thing of like it's not the Vikings, so I don't have an vested interest, and maybe it's just it's just a Thursday, and is just not able to kind of get into that football mindset maybe. But then I realized that I'm down to watch good football any time of the year. I don't care where it is, whether it's high school, college, European League, whatever it is. I don't care if it's good football. I will enjoy it. I don't have to have a dog in the fight. And so I immediately stepped back and I thought to myself, what's going on here? Why am I getting bored? Why am I feeling like starting to like I want to start to yawn and stuff like that when um and then all of a sudden I get this nice, like, really nice play or something really fantastic happens, and you know what I mean? So I was like, what's going on here? And then it hit me. I was like, the offense is extremely vanilla. They're I don't know, man. Is it too old school of a feeling that made me feel like, man, I'm watching an old boring game from whatever generation, it kind of different generation. I don't know what it was, but like the offense seemed predictable. Although they were able to pull off some good stuff, it was like, okay, here, oh, they're lining up in shotgun. These are the type of concepts that I'm expecting to see, and then it happened. You know what I mean? When I saw him under center, I was like, "Ooh, this is where I might be um, looking at something more of us, where Penix might scramble or relies on his legs to 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 extend the play, or to as a backup to what the defense was coming at him, right? So um it led me to realize that, man, as dynamic as Michael Penix can be, and as dynamic as some of these playmakers are, they are quite boring. Maybe like if I'm starting to pick this stuff apart and be like, oh, I see what they're going to go here. They're probably going to go to Drake London. But mind you, as the game progressed, I was kind of conditioned into assuming that they were going to go to Drake London because they targeted him so many times. So an area of predictability. So these kind of things I find stand out to me as things that Brian Flores can easily take advantage of, right? I'm blown away by the game plan and the adjustments that this Minnesota Vikings team has done over the years. Like in early in JJ's career, for example, when he was emerging and it was like, oh man, people are going to start putting, bracketing him and double teaming and creating these schemes to take him away. He We've brought in Hawkinson, and we drafted Addison, right? Like we've brought players in here to kind of relieve that pressure. Thielen was there, right? So all these things that the team has done, right? On top of all the things that we've done on defense to kind of evolve that, I feel like um we've adapted to the point where these sort of bland vanilla offices should be easy for us to capitalize on. And the way that we called the plays just threw me for a loop. I call it the rope and dope because it was so bland. I don't know if it bland, it was more like progression based or development based focus. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't up to the immediate effect that I expected, right? What I expected didn't come until the fourth, so I think there's a lot of things that we can capitalize when it comes to this offense and in with Atlanta. Let's not forget they seemed very content in trying to force the ball to Drake London. I don't know if that's a result of the comfort level that Penix has with him, and which is why he's constantly looking at him, or maybe that's scheme or offense, whatever their philosophy is behind, what they're trying to do. So I'm thinking there are a lot of things to be had when it comes to this offense. You know, under the gun, we were. If I'm looking at when they were under the gun, I was seeing certain things. Under the pistol, I saw a couple other things. Under center, when Penix was under center, I saw all these things, and then like almost 7 out of 10 times, that's what was happening. You know what I mean? So, like, if I can pick that, I'm pretty damn sure that Brian Flores and all the good boys over in our coaching staff that are doing all the great film work are going to pick up on. And I'm more than confident that we will be able to take advantage. But another thing with the run game, that there seemed to be a bit of a lack of cohesion, or maybe it, it seemed choppy. Like it was so paint by numbers when it came to the offense. Like it was like, okay, here we got a run play, like in the formation and everything gave it all away. Oh, here we got a play action. Here we got distinct passing concepts. You know what I mean? Like it was easy for me as a layman to pick up. So I think that lack of fluidity, that lack of um creativity or innovation, or kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's a lack of them being on the same page. So maybe they're just, because they are still kind of trying to incorporate the Michael Penix experiment into it, maybe that's what's going on. But we also so I think that's why the Vikings and Brian Flores have a good opportunity there. But they do have strengths that we need to worry about, right? Like I said, although their running game is struggling, Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier have put up some fantastic tape and stats since they've come together. Penix himself does a great job of avoiding sacks, and he's elusive. You know what I mean? Um, he can slang it, man. There, that one where he realized that he needed to put a little bit of extra zip on the ball. He's able to do these talented things. So there are things that we need to be concerned of. But I'm fully confident in Brian Flores to come up with a scheme and a game plan to get this completely under wraps. Um, but yes, the explosiveness of the Falcons is not lost on me. That's why when I started going a little bit deeper and looking at these things, it is worth being aware and concerned, maybe as a fan, because but at the end of the day, the Vikings got this, man. In Kwesi, I trust. In Brian Flores, I trust. So these are things that I'm picking up, that I'm just delivering to you guys in hopes that it kind of helps you be comfortable with what we're about to see this weekend. And but you know what? There are concerns when it comes to when we look, like, that the Falcons should have when we look at week one's performance, right? Their interior line, they struggled, right? And if the Buccaneers were able to put that kind of pressure on them and have that interior look as leaky as they did, and have Penix having to rely on that elusiveness and that intuition, it's a recipe for failure when you think about what we bring in our pass rush, right? Javon Hargrave, 2 sacks, right? But like I said in my winners and losers, it was very difficult for me to throw a single person up there in the pass rush because everybody did so well. Like there was a total of 6 pressures from Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave and our boys there. There was just a lot of good stats and numbers put up by our pass rush. That's why I I put those guys, the whole unit, as a winner from this last week game. But if those guys were doing as well as they did, and we had highlights where it seemed like Jonathan Allen had like the easiest sack in the world, and Caleb Williams managed to get away, he's going to be coming in hungry. You know what I mean? So that interior offensive line should be a concern for these Falcons, and in an inroad for us Minnesota Vikings. Um, and like I said, when I was talking about how their offense looks a little bit vanilla, I feel like that's a result of it being very predictable. Maybe there might just be a lot of tells, or maybe they're just not disguising their things enough, which top defense will absolutely make them pay, which is why Tampa Bay had success the way that they did. So I expect um, our coaching staff to be well prepared. Now, Michael Penix not consistently throwing over the middle or downfield. It's really good to have a lot of, warm up early in the game, kind of like easy confidence building checkdowns or easy passes. But when it comes to late in the first half and then into the second half, you really need to be capitalizing on that. And outside of a few plays there, here and there, it seemed a lot more dinking and dunking when I kind of looked at all their offensive plays this week. So if we can make them scared to continue to throw deep or in through down the middle, that's going to be another area that we can really capitalize and make them one dimensional. Woo! That's why I see Brian Flores taking this predictability and just eating all day, man. I'm excited to see what else he has to offer, because last week he called that play different. Like the second half was the second half, and how he approached it, like I had been expecting him to improve after some of those rough second halves that we experienced last week, right? So to see him coming out with new stuff gives me a lot of hope. Let's see here. We also have to be aware, though, that if they continue to target Drake London and we do a good job of taking him away, we may have it might be the Kyle Pitts coming out party. So we need to stay on top of that. We can't be too nearsighted and lose focus just because they are going to try to force feed him. So we need that discipline, and hopefully we're able to do that. And now when we look at the Minnesota Vikings, right, and we look at a little bit deeper of what was going on in this week's game that gave us all the time in the world to wait for JJ McCarthy to explode, right? The incredible things that we were doing on special teams. Our punt returns, for example, they were consistently coming up with a good chunk of yards, 10, 12, 15, right? Those that's an additional first down that JJ McCarthy didn't have to do, especially late in the game. So those favorable field positions, right? A lot of great things, little things, the glue things that kept the team together. A lot of that was on special teams, right? That blocked punt, right? A lot of the stuff when it came to situational football defensively also did a fantastic job of keeping us in, right? Um, and most importantly, I think that run defense really played a massive factor throughout those first three quarters to give our Vikings the time needed to succeed. So, with that being said, you know what I mean? Like, we need to continue along the strengths that we were able to display in hopefully this year. This game JJ lights up a little bit faster, but you know what, whatever he needs to do to develop, I'm confident on what that boy can do. And then and then let's talk about Jordan Mason. And I don't want to talk about the running game for a second because we all know what he can do. Let's be fucking real. Jordan Mason, I am so happy to have Jordan Mason. I feel like he is definitely our future when it comes to our running back position. Aaron Jones, I love the guy, I love his personality. I love the intangibles and the skill set that he brings to the game. But our number one workhorse running back, our lead back needs to be Jordan Mason for so many more things than his ability to run. Those blitz pickups that he had, there were a couple in there that I was like, oh my goodness. There was a double blitz pickup that he had that I was like, let this boy cook, keep him in there. I don't even care, bro. This guy is something special. And he can run the ball aggressively on top of that, man. This team is buying in, and the talent that we have around this young man and this facility is incredible. And Jordan Mason, I think, is the key for the success of the development of JJ McCarthy. If he continues to be excellent in the blitz pickup game, aka the pass protection, if he's continues to be dominant and fall down for 5, 6, 7 yards, because that's how good of a power back he is. If he can continue to excel in these areas and continue to develop, because this man is a second year running back. How the hell do we get this lucky? Come on, guys. Give it up for Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. How do we pick up this talent and bring him on board? And like, I know, like the plan was to build all these players and probably find that running back in the draft. But like, who needs a draft one when freaking we have Jordan freaking Mason? Now, this boy is something special. In that change of pace back, whoever that is, whether that's Aaron Jones or whoever we decide to draft in replacement, because Aaron Jones is getting older. I hope he stays with us and retires with us, and he transitions and teaches our next, helps being a good leader. But man, he is the real deal, in my opinion. I feel like an idiot last year shit talking Jordan Mason going into that week 2 game. I remember saying shit like, man, this is a rookie running back. He had a good game against the Jets. It's the fucking Jets. You think he's going to come into our house, run against our team? No. And the boy did just that. The boy did just that. And now the man is on our team, and he is the future of this running back stable that we got going on. And the stability that he's going to bring to our offense is going to give all the time in the world and relieve all the pressure for this young man, JJ McCarthy. So, a lot of awesome things to talk about when it comes to the offense. And when we deep dive into the Minnesota Vikings first game, there are other things that we can hang our head on when it comes to the strengths in that we have, right? Long gone is the day where teams were setting up in too high shells because they just needed to take JJ out of the equation, right? No more double coverage, no more brackets, no more removing that, because we got Hawkinson, we got Aaron Jones, we got a stronger O-line. When Addison comes back, we got Adam Thielen, we got Jordan Mason. We have so many offensive weapons that relieve that pressure, that if they do bring out some 2021 defensive strategies to shut us down, they're going to be sorely mistaken, because that's when we're going to see Hawkinson bring in like 200 yards reception or something ridiculous. You know what I mean? This is when we're going to see Jordan Mason run for 180 yards. This is when we're going to see Jordan Addison put up 2 touchdowns and 160 yards when these guys sell out to fucking stop JJ. Stop the JJ to JJ connection. You know what I mean? So that ability that we have, or all the moves that we have done, Kwesi Adolfo Mensa, everything that we've done to solidify this offense, to give them, I think, is one of the biggest strengths of all. But we're not without our weaknesses, guys. Sometimes, like I said, in the second half of games last year, it seemed like Flores would get like this caught in the headlights look, became very predictable, went straight vanilla. There was not a lot of disguises. And I really wanted to see how he approached the second half of these games. Man, there is a quote that is circulating that came out of the Chicago Bears organization. I forget which coach said it. Maybe it might have been Ben Johnson himself. But he said specifically, it threw us off at how little pressure Brian Flores sent in the first half of the game, in early. It goes to show you that, like I anticipated, I expected, Brian Flores continues to evolve his way of thinking, his strategies, his schemes, and boy, did he pull a nice rope and dope on them. Man, the rope and dope, boys. Both KOC and Brian Flores were on the same page, and they rope and dope those Chicago Bears. They had no idea. They were freaking gassed. They looked like Foreman at the end of the game. They're like, I can't breathe, coach, get me out. Yeah, but they're running another play. Get the fuck out there and stop JJ. And what happened? Just like Foreman, they ran out of gas, and it ran out of clock. And it was a beautiful thing to see and experience on this side of the football. Because you know how many times the Packers or even other good teams have come into our home, or we've gone in and stolen games from us like that? When I'm sitting there thinking, I just want to like scream, because I'm like, if we just stupid victory formation, I'm sitting here thinking, just dive, get the ball back, pull a fucking Gruden, and just freaking do something. Give us another play, because if we can get another chance, we might actually do it. And they clock manage us, and they freaking, and it was so aggravating. But now that's part of our game. It's a sign that this team continues to advance down the path to Super Bowls, down the path of creating a Super Bowl contending team that does all the right things at the right time situationally and never gives up on top of that, because we witnessed that on Monday night, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as a result of these things, I was ranting a little bit about about our weaknesses, and a lot of people want to give our blitz heavy defensive scheme as a weakness because it can be predictable at times. But I think Brian Flores in week 1, with that quote that came out of Chicago, I think he proved he's got a little bit more in that deep bag of his. So I expect to see more stuff from him like that this weekend. But there are some weaknesses that even a strong roster, incredible coaching, can't overcome. And I'm not saying this is a deep flaw or issue, because I think depth actually does address this quite well. Is that we're going to be out without Blake Cashman for the next little while, and he is such a good defensive leader. He's the guy with the green dot on his helmet. He is the guy that's reading and is very intuitive at making sure that everything that needs to be communicated to our defense is out there and to the right people at the right time. So that's a big hit, Don't get me wrong. Last year when it happened, I was very confident in Ivan Pace Jr. and other players coming in and taking over that role, and they did a passable job, but it was definitely felt. But you know what? Blake Cashman was out for a good portion of that game on Monday, and our depth proved to show we ain't we ain't an organization to be messed with. Eric Wilson came in and did a great job in relief. And I don't know if they're going to give him the green dot or who's going to get the green dot, but I'm very confident that our coaching staff is going to prepare our linebacker crew and pick the right person to be leading our defensive team on the field and have the mic in his ear, right? Yes, exactly, Lefty. Eric Wilson is going to be more than that. That's another sign. You know, this is the thing that I'm saying. People were laughing, or people were you're like, oh, what does that mean? I was like, well, the better roster is going to beat Chicago. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know why, but I know that they are going to do it. And these things, it's the depth. It's the fact that we can bring in a linebacker that we signed late and can be coached up and be ready for these situations is a sign of the strength of this team and an indication that we are a dangerous playoff team that shouldn't be fucked with. Let's be real, ladies and gentlemen. Am I lying? We've seen this week to week and in some of the craziest situations. Most recent Monday night in a historic event, of course. But I'm thinking, I go back to last year when I see our star left tackle go down, and I expect, wow, we might. Most people would have expected to not win a single game after that, but we ended up with 14 wins, and that's a testament to our coaching staff, our organization by bringing in a replacement, and just the strength of this roster and what they were able to do. And now we have a better roster. We've upgraded, and it's going to be more of the same. So I'm not scared about injuries to Blake Cashman. I just wish that he has a speedy recovery and he doesn't force it back on the field because it's still early. We're still in the JJ development games. We're not going to really truly need him until like that second half of the season when JJ is banging on all cylinders and we really need to milk the best out of everybody to get to where we need to be at the end of the season. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, although I'm not ignorant to say that it is something that may give them an advantage. Bijan might find a lot of open space now because of the linebackers in the situation that we got. So it's going to be fun to see what we have. But that kind of brings me to the end of, I guess, of our deep dive of the strengths and weaknesses for both teams. And I guess let's quickly recap, right? So the Falcons offense looked a little bit vanilla for me, a little bit kind of predictable. Like I said, I was watching earlier today before I started while I was preparing for this live, all the plays, and I seemed to start getting bored and nodding off. And it kind of led me to realize that maybe these guys are a little bit too plain Jane, too vanilla, and I was just getting bored. And if what does that tell me if I can kind of pick these things out as a complete layman? How easy is it going to be for Brian Flores to take advantage of that? Now, Michael Penix Jr., yes, he is dynamic. He is definitely something to be aware of and be ready for because he put up nearly 300 yards. He looked incredible. I'm not going to deny that. The young man deserves his credit. And so something to be aware of. So, there are some good things when it comes to these Falcons. And then then we talked about the how stout this run defense looked this first game. I think we gave up like 58 yards rushing to their top back. Like they it was rough. And with Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson struggling in game one, hopefully it's something that we can come up. And then of course our running back stable is one big area that big strength, right? So, but that brings me, I want to recap the three what do I call them? Three keys to success yesterday from yesterday's stream, because I said I want to quickly recap that. The first key to success for this week's game needs to be how well we take how well we capitalize home field advantage. Home field advantage breaks some of the best teams in the league. It gets loud. It is I've been there for a bunch of games at US Bank Stadium, and sometimes I feel like, man, I should have wore some headphones or I should have some earplugs, because it gets ridiculously loud in there. It's going to be rambunctious. Just like last year, we're going to make a lot of teams make a lot of mistakes early. And if we can capitalize on those things, I think that's going to be a big key to success when it comes to it. Number two, the ability for our running backs to get established and run the ball early. That's going to be a big factor and a big key to success. And then last but not least, the offensive line play, right? I'm thinking that the reason why they didn't bring out Darisaw, maybe it was because they got there early to Chicago, and when they saw the look of the field, they're like, we're not risking it, man. This guy could take one twist and he's out for the rest of the year. This might be his coming out party. Christian Darisaw and this offensive line are going to be a massive key to success when it comes to everything that this Vikings team wants to do. Not to mention they're going to be integral in giving all the time that JJ needs for these developmental reps. Like for me, these are developmental games for JJ. He didn't play really anything. He hasn't played any meaningful football for like 600 days, ladies and gentlemen. So that is going to be the last key to success. But keys to victories, like I said, I got 4 of them, and I thought man, we'll see if we can come up with a 5th one here on the spot. But at number 1, and these are in no particular order, but my 5 keys to success is that this pass rush needs to impose their will. Javon Hargraves and Jonathan Allen are gonna be hungry. They have a lot to prove. Both guys coming from teams that, I'm sure Hargrave wanted to stay in San Fran, right? He was a big part of that defense, right? And they didn't keep him. So maybe there's a chip on his shoulder. Same thing can be said about Jonathan Allen, right? So, and not to mention, Jonathan Allen had a little bit of an embarrassing clip last week or on Monday night, where it looked like it was a guaranteed sack and Caleb somehow got away. But he was still a monster. That was 6 pressures that he was able to put in there. He accounted for. Same with 6 from Javon. The pressure rate from our from our pass rush was incredible. So again, they need to be huge for us. So they are a massive key to success, because this offense can be so vanilla. If we can disrupt what they're trying to do and we can get them off their game plan, it's going to be easy pickings for this defense and Brian Flores. Another area that needs to shine, the next key to success, or key to victory, I should say, is that this run defense needs to continue to look top tier. These Falcon running backs are struggling after one game. 2.6 yards per carry from Algier and 2 yards per carry from Bijan Robinson. The Falcons need these guys to start strong and early. They are a young developing team in transition, or building, or trying to develop those meaningful reps and those meaningful experiences so their team can develop to the team that they want to become. And if they can get that running attack going, it's going to be a problem. The game is going to be a lot closer than we want it to be. So, if we can continue to stop the run and limit the ability for opposing teams to run the ball, it's going to make them even more one-dimensional and predictable that I think they're already going to be. So, the more predictability that Brian Flores and his run defense can create by stopping the run, the better. And then another thing I wanted to say, you know, the run game was elite last week, and I think it's a product of the acquisitions that we've gotten. Jonathan Allen and Hargrave are talents, are talented players in this league. And but I think it also gives a hint that the evolution of Brian Flores and his schemes and his defense continues to happen, which is a great sign. Later, Lefty. I hope you have a great one, man. Now, let's move on to the next key to victory. And again, I think we're going to harp a little bit on one. I was talking more about the key to success to the stable, both Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. But a key to success needs to be that we need to get them started early and fast. We need to lean a little bit more first on Jordan Mason because I think he's a little bit more dynamic. He like I said, the man falls down for 5 yards. It's unbelievable. Sometimes when you think he's going to be tackled for a 5-6 yard loss, he somehow gets back to the line of scrimmage. It's a skill and a strength that we really need to rely early on and get that man going, because without him getting it going in that fourth quarter, I don't think we turn it around and JJ has the success that he does. Those few runs in that fourth quarter when he started rumbling, I was like, this is what I wanted to see from the opening bell. So I'm hoping that the game plan allows for that. And of course, in KOC, I trust. So if whatever he decides to drop and however he decides to drop, that's the way that it's going to go down. And I'm happy with that. But as a fan, I want to see Jordan Mason running hard early, because if that's the case, that means we are taking advantage and we have a lead that we're working on and protecting, right? So that's why establishing the run game early is a massive key to victory. Our fourth key to victory is going to be that our weapons on offense need to impose their will and attract as much attention from the defensive coordinator and the players alike. Because if any one of our other players, if Hawkinson doesn't hold up, if he's dropping balls, or if everybody's just not on their game, that's going to make it easier for them to decide, let's just take JJ out of it. Hawk's not catching any passes. He keeps dropping. Whatever it is, right? Thielen, he's a non-factor, right? If these guys, if Jordan Mason doesn't run hard, if Aaron Jones ain't catching passes out of the backfield and making himself a grabbing the defense's attention and the defensive coordinates, it's going to be rough defensively, because this Falcons defense is the most consistent and the most solid part of their whole team. They've been together the longest, I think, and when it comes to personnel wise, and they're the most consistent when it comes to their whole three areas of football. So it's going to be very important that we keep that defense honest. And if Hawkins, like I said, if they bracket or they try to do everything double, triple team, whatever that is, to take out JJ, Hawkinson needs to put up 180 yards. Thielen needs to put up 100 yards. Aaron Jones need to put, you know what I mean? Like, all these guys need to make them pay, because if our players, our superstars, our playmakers are there to support Justin Jefferson and JJ McCarthy, we are going to be in total control of this game, and it's going to be a easy coast to the finish line. So that is the fourth key to victory when it comes to these Minnesota Vikings. like I said, I don't I was working on this and I was watching all film and I was trying to get my 5 keys to success, but I was only able to get 4 out because I wanted to be as logical and just give you guys something different. Here we go. The 5th key to success for the Minnesota Vikings against these Atlanta Falcons is going to be how our special teams comes out. If they continue to play at a high level, if they continue to provide JJ McCarthy with shorter fields, if they can steal away a blocked punt, if their kick returners can steal a massive return, maybe even take one to the house, that's going to be a massive, massive factor that I think will be uh, just nail in the coffin. Because if everything else goes wrong, goes right, and we're able to accomplish all these things in all these 5 keys to victories, if we can successfully accomplish all 4 of these before the special teams, that's going to be a nail in the coffin. We're going to be so far ahead, and it's going to be so difficult for these Falcons to do anything about it. So there you guys have it. Those are my 5 keys to victory and that deep dive into this week's game. I want to make sure I get as many lives and as many topics out to you about this upcoming game as early as I can, because I will be traveling to Minnesota and I will be in attendance. I hope you got anybody that's in the Minnesota area. If you guys are going to be there, hopefully you guys can get into Skull Fest. Hopefully I see you guys in the stadium, and it's going to be a wild one, guys. It's going to be awesome. I really wholeheartedly think that home field advantage is going to give us such an early advantage that it's going to be very easy for us to establish these 5 keys to success and totally dominate this team. Last year, they had a very hard time adjusting to the home field advantage. We blew them out 42-21 or 42-20 or whatever it was, right? So that is something that they as a team still remember, and that's going to play a factor. A lot of penalties and a whole lot of dominance from the Minnesota Vikings is going to be what it takes this week. And I hope you guys enjoyed the live today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're still hanging out in the live and you're still hanging out with me, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you, Lefty. Thank you for all the Vikings fans out there. I truly appreciate it. Big ups to all of you guys, all you Vikings fans, and my thoughts and prayers. And I hope you guys are go out to you guys, and I hope you guys have a great week. I'm out, guys. Skull. We will be back in a little while. We're gonna do a quick, a couple quick hot take reviews. We got some clips that I seen emerge that I want to react to, and I'll see you guys then. Take care, guys. I really appreciate you guys. Skull.